a predictable, scalable sales pipeline across a market.
I was stuck with Beyond Codes, for 6-7 years only because working with such a large companies, working with them, looking at what technologies they are bringing into table globally, not just, in India market or North America market. Where we come into picture is, we are one of their strategic partners, not just a vendor.
Right.
So we bring in a lot of knowledge, a lot of upskills, in terms of appointment setting and lead generation. It's all about ROI, right now. So
Yeah.
it is not
It's
like
so true. What's the difference between messaging that works and the one that gets ignored?
if I am a head of sales and I'm looking like this is an AI tool, whether it is Claude or any other email, tool, ChatGPT or whatever, from where they are actually, making these automations.
Hello everyone, I'm Pritika Singh, your host for the day, and welcome to Beyond Code's live room. Today we're going to be talking about something that every IT services and consulting leader is dealing with. How do you build a predictable, scalable sales pipeline across a market, and not just locally, but globally as well? And here's the truth. Buyers don't want to be sold to. They've done their research, they've compared options, and they expect real value from the very first conversation. And that's exactly what we are here to explore. So how do you stand out? How do you win enterprise deals across borders? And that's where Taman Mokha has joined us today, the President of Global Sales and Customer Success at Beyond Codes Incorporate, joining us from Vancouver, Canada. Taman has over 15 plus years of experience across IT services, products, and outsourcing. He builds scalable sales pipelines, drives consistent growth, aligns marketing with sales, and creates customer relationships that really last. He actively explores how AI is reshaping sales, attending global events like AI4, HIMSS, RSA, Dreamforce, and Enterprise Connect. Taman, great to have you with us.
Likewise, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
Before we get into the strategy, we'd like to know the person behind all these wonderful insights which are going to come our way. So you've spent 15 plus years in sales across IT service products and outsourcing. Take us back a little bit. How did you get into this world? And what's been the defining journey from your early days to leading global sales at Beyond Codes?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, it started 15 years back. It's been almost 20 years, I've been into sales, but with Beyond Codes, it's been 15 years. I just started as an individual contributor, as an SDR, working for different companies, specifically into IT services.
Right.
And then generating appointments for them. That's how it started for me back in 2012. I was stuck with Beyond Codes, for 6-7 years only because working with such a large companies, working with them, looking at what technologies they are bringing into table globally, not just, in India market or North America market. Gave me the exposure to learn more about, what are the new technologies coming in the market. And that's how it all started. From an individual contributor, became, one of the delivery managers in Beyond Codes, managing the teams, and then eventually coming into sales, winning deals for Beyond Codes. So that's how it all, curated for me. And it's been an excellent journey so far.
Fabulous. And 15 years in the same organization speaks volumes about the leadership and the organization culture. So this is fantastic. So we're going to dive into our first question right away. Okay, so you work with large IT companies, product engineering firms, and high growth SaaS companies, right? What does winning look like for companies at this scale today? Not just in one market, but globally.
As you mentioned, right? So we are working with such large companies.
Right.
So they are already aware what they're doing, right? Where we come into picture is, we are one of their strategic partners, not just a vendor.
Right.
So we bring in a lot of knowledge, a lot of upskills, in terms of appointment setting and lead generation. That's where we stand with them. So this includes, giving them insights about global market, whether it is North America, UK, Europe, APAC, Singapore. Where we come into picture is we are not just, a lead gen company, which is just giving them appointments. We are a company which is working with them closely, making sure that, they have the right database, the ICP is correct, which is their ideal customer profile, and work with them, to make sure that, everything is in place. We are targeting the right accounts for them and then bringing the right prospects on the calls for these large enterprises that we work for. So it is not like a team of 20 junior ISDRs are sitting and then it's a play game or a calling game,
Right.
but it is more of multiple outreach systems, whether it is phone calls, emails, or LinkedIn, to bring these prospects on the call, which have a genuine interest to hear what these companies have to offer.
Right.
And we have a mechanism in place which allows them to give us feedbacks on everything that we are actually giving to them, so that we can also improve. So that's how we are doing it right now.
I think there's a lot of R&D that goes into building this core geographical expertise, and that's what you all bring to the table, is what I'm understanding here. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. So there's a lot of research and development work that we do. It is basically going deep into the accounts that they want to target, making sure that whether the personas that they want to target in particular account or a particular company, we have the right buyer personas for them, right database for them, whether it is a CI organization or a CTO or a CFO. And that's how we are able to deep dive into their accounts and then bring some real value to them.
Fantastic. Sounds very exciting to me. And a lot of these IT service companies have some international presence, like we've just discussed. A few relationships, some referral based businesses across markets. But they do genuinely struggle to build a predictable, repeatable pipeline globally. What's the playbook for going from opportunistic wins to systematic growth across markets?
It's all about ROI, right now. So
Yeah,
it is not
it's
like
so true, so true.
then with the global market right now, there are a lot of chief business officer in the market, chief growth officer in the market, who are working tirelessly, making sure that the partners that they're working with are actually bringing ROI to them, right? So it is a lot about bringing the real opportunity to them, working closely with them, making sure that they are we understand their language, that is very important, and then we understand the language that their customer will understand, right? So the messaging part, whether we are writing them an email or picking up a phone and then talking to their customers, the end goal is that if I'm working with an IT services company right now, they should be 100% sure that we are making sure that their brand image is on point. We are not just picking up the call and then just saying that, hey, this is Taman and this my company is so and so, and and the revenue is so and so. The end customer right now wants to understand. When I say end customer, their customers, they want to understand is that what value this company is bringing to them. Why should they give us time? There are 20 calls that they get in a day.
Absolutely.
There are 30 emails that they get in a day. So it is more of bringing the AI and human together, which will make sure that they are getting the results. That's the main funda, right? So yeah, experience plus what we are doing currently for them, reaching out to the personas is bringing them the real value.
This is fantastic, because I just love the fact, Taman, that you're bringing so much of nuance to a simple email or a message that goes out to your customer's customer. And that, I think, is actually the game changer. Because a lot of companies, I'm sure, are doing a lot of things that you're doing. But I think it is this beautiful nuance that you bring to catch a customer's attention in the right way for the right reasons. I think is absolutely fantastic.
That is right.
Now, everyone's talking about personalization, but when you're running outreach across hundreds of enterprise accounts, multiple stakeholders across different markets, how do you actually personalize at scale without it becoming a hollow buzzword?
Let me just put it in this way. The fake personalization doesn't work at all, right? So it has to be a real personalization that you have to do, right? So you cannot just, as I mentioned during the call, you say, hey, I'm this company with this revenue. That doesn't work. In the email, it doesn't work that, hey, I'm from this company and I know that you have acquired a company or this. It is not like that. So there are a lot of stuff you have to go through the LinkedIn, see what title they are holding. You have to research and see what events they are attending. What is the key topics they are talking about. Have they currently done any kind of acquisition that is making sense to the offerings that you are actually selling to them. So all of that comes into picture, and then you create a email or a phone call that helps them to understand that we are talking the same tone. And of course, even after doing all of this, there are people, who'll say that, that we are not interested. But at the end of the day, it is all about, you have made a genuine effort in actually talking about what your company is actually offering, right?
True,
And
true.
that is very, very important, for companies like Beyond Codes, to understand the terminology, to understand what they want to talk about, to understand, why we will reach out to them, and why, and the timing is very, very important.
True
You,
that.
yeah. So all of this is a combined effort that we put on the table, that brings us close to our customers, having a multi-year deal with them, because they also understand, that, we are also growing with them. We understand their personalization, we understand, what they want us to talk about, so that's how we bring it, the value to the
Yeah,
table.
that sounds like a lot of work. I mean, just for one email, I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. And I think also when these emails start to come in, you literally have like the first two lines in order to make sure that you have their attention for all the right reasons, right? Because I've always understood whatever little that I do, you guys are a fantastic company that it's always the first thing that a customer really wants to know. It's what's in it for me. So
That
if
is
you
correct.
guys are doing so much of, and I mean, I shouldn't be using the word guys, if you all are doing that kind of, deep dive research, I'm sure you'd be able to crack that in no time. This
No,
is absolutely
absolutely. Yeah.
fantastic. Great. So you've seen thousands of campaigns. It's over such a long period of time that you've been with the company and across global markets. When you look at the ones that actually book meetings with key influencers and decision makers, what's the difference between messaging that works and the one that gets ignored?
Again, it's the personalization that you want to make in
Like we just discussed
that,
right
like
now.
we
Yeah,
just discussed,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
There are, you will see the companies, what they're currently doing is, and I'm not blaming anyone, it's
I'm
like,
sure.
there are companies who are just bringing the AI to the table and reducing their sales team. When I say sales team, whether it is their inside sales team or their actual sales team.
Right.
But one thing they are unable to understand is that the human touch is very, very important,
True
right?
that.
And we are talking about large deals here for our customers, right? So if it is a $200 million deal, and if I am a head of sales and I'm looking like, this is an AI tool, whether it is Claude or any other email, tool, ChatGPT or whatever, from where they are actually, making these automations. Ultimately, the human touch is required. So
True.
my funda or our funda is, it has to be AI plus human. We have to make sure that our inside sales teams or our sales team understand the automation that is required and how much is required and where it is required, right? It cannot be fully, just fully replace your inside sales team or your sales team or your strategic partner like Beyond Codes, and just go to an AI vendor and just say that, hey, this, can we do this? Ultimately, whether you're sending an email or sending them LinkedIn request, there is a person that is required to build the relationship, right? And that's how you will win the business,
That's
right?
fantastic. So, what I'm understanding is that AI is helping you create scale, and the work that we're doing deep dived by the human, interaction is what is actually winning the client.
That is
That's
correct.
what I'm understanding right now.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
So let's get a little tactical now. Okay. For the SDRs and sales reps who are watching this video, who are on the phone and in the inbox every day, trying to book meetings with the enterprise buyers globally. I mean, the story of our lives, right? What's your advice? What separates a good SDR from a great one?
There are a couple of things. One is, you cannot be just reaching out to each and every customer or a prospect that is there in your account list. You have to personalize, so each week, it's a different week for you guys, for an SDR or an ISDR, or a sales guy, right?
Right.
So what you do is, you bring in accounts, and you have a prospect list, right? So based on where they are based out of, where they are located, what is the account going through, what is their CFO saying, because it is all about ROI, and then the cost related
Right.
to it.
That's part of it.
And then how personalized you have created, your emails, your outreach efforts, and all of that is very, very important. You have to research on the account, you have to make sure that you're reaching out to the right prospect, you have to see, whether there is a leadership change going on, how often are you following up with the prospect, are you not bugging them,
Yeah, true.
that they get annoyed and they don't want to talk to you. So a good SDR will make sure that the prospect has been reached out in a certain manner, that they are not, they don't feel that you're not important. It has to be in a way where they understand that we are making sense while we are reaching out to them. And if in case they have told us to follow up, let's suppose after 2 months, 3 months, we respect their time. We understand that this might not be their priority, and then reach out to them, and it's actual time to connect with them and then set up those meetings, right? Nowadays, there's a advice that I want to give. A lot of ISDRs, SDRs are actually behind the phone. They don't want to be on the phone. They want to send emails. They want to do the touch points through LinkedIn.
Right.
But my suggestion is pick up the phone, talk to them, understand what the ask is. It is okay if they say no, but you will get a lot of traction through phone calls if they're done at the right time, in the right manner.
Sure, and I think overall it's also great branding. It's not just always about the business, but a great sales rep call becomes a true branding, ammunition for any company. So I think you guys are getting that absolutely spot on. So fantastic
right.
work there. So Taman, you're also deeply plugged into the AI landscape. Every sales tool now says AI powered, like we just discussed, right? So we're seeing a lot of AI SDRs now, autonomous agents, predictive deal intelligence. Where is AI genuinely changing the game, and where is it still hype?
Let's not say that AI is not disrupting the market. It is.
It is, yeah.
So anything which is repetitive right now, AI is replacing it, right? But having said that, whether it is the research work, whether it is you looking for those top 100 accounts that you want to target,
Right.
you can actually research it through AI. They will give you quick results, but then our funda is it has to be AI plus human. It cannot be just AI doing all this stuff. So yes, AI is doing the it is bringing a lot of buzz in the market, but lot of companies, in fact every company, wants to adopt AI. The only thing that I personally feel or see in the market is that not everything can be automated. If they want to automate everything, it has to need a human touch to it, which will bring much more value to the table, while we are actually, talking to your end user or a customer, or within the organization, right? So someone will say that, hey, you have, there are 7 different organization in the single organization, right? And then departments are there, and someone will come and all of a sudden say that, hey, this department, it will be replaced by AI in next 4 months.
Ouch.
It can be true, but then most of the times, you can reduce the team, you cannot eliminate the team, and it has to be AI plus human. That's how you want to do this.
So again, what I'm hearing is that AI will help you with the research, the numbers, etc., etc. That's where that part comes in. And I think sales is a lot about emotions. So I think you guys are getting the best of both worlds here.
course.
So yeah, that kind of makes sense to me.
And of
That's
course,
appealing.
yeah. So buyers are also using AI, right? It is not like
Right.
they are not using AI,
True,
right? And
true.
they want to make sure that whatever they are investing in, it brings value to them, right? It becomes
Right.
ROI. And for the buyers also, the expectation is very high right now, right? Because let's face it, everyone is talking about AI right now, right? So real expectations is very, very important. While you're doing a deal, while we are talking to the customer, it is very important that you understand that how to deliver, and what to deliver, and how long it will take to deliver, and then eventually you'll see the results, right? One of the main factor is that any buyer or any person in the market who is looking for AI is not only looking for automation, they are looking to reduce cost as well, right?
True. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So the expectation, how long it will take to reduce that cost, how you can actually eliminate, few of your processes, during, this disruption of AI. It is very important to understand that, whatever we are doing, it should bring ROI and value to them.
Absolutely. It sounds like yin and yang, neither exist without each other. So, okay, now we're going to get a little uncomfortable, right? There's a growing argument that the traditional sales team model is fundamentally broken, right? AI agents are getting cheaper, like we just discussed. Buyers prefer self service, and some companies are shrinking their sales teams dramatically. You just mentioned that like a minute back.
Yes.
Is it the traditional B2B sales team as we know it dying now?
So I would say that the old body shop SDR kind of a thing is dying. I'll not deny that, but the new model right now is smaller teams, and then smarter with AI driven results, that they can focus on. Human trust is still critical, I would again say,
Yeah.
for not only large deals but even small deals. And then the AI enhance, it doesn't replace your teams. What we need to do is we need to do a mindset shift. That is what we need to do. Homework is very important. While
Yeah.
you are actually doing such tedious task, it is not an easy task. Talking to the prospects who are actually working ages for in technology. You need to make sense. So AI plus human, I'll again say, plus you want to make sure that there is a mindset which will allow you to understand that AI is actually there to help you guys, to help the ISDRs, to help the SDRs, to help account executives, to help sales teams, and then to help the buyer as well,
Right.
to understand what value we can bring to the table. So I would suggest that.
Yeah, I think what I'm understanding from you is that largely a lot of fear is there in terms of AI being a tool which is going to replace your job. In fact, it is something which is going to make your job more efficient, so that
Absolutely.
you have time to add probably more value to the work that you're doing and to the
Absolutely.
company. So I think we all
Absolutely.
need to take a deep breath and kind of say
Yep.
that fine, let's just do both of them
Yep.
together. I love the balance that you created, and the reasons why these two need to be working together is absolutely very interesting coming
That's
from
right.
you. Okay, last question, Raman. Okay, two parts. First, what's the one mindset shift that separates companies that scale globally from those that plateau? And second, for every sales leader watching, what's the one thing that they should do this week? That's homework, homework, homework.
Yes. So one thing that companies should do, again, I would say, the with the AI, it is very important that now sales and marketing should work parallelly and together. It will help them to make sure that the goals are aligned. It will help them to understand that AI is a starting point. You can create scripts, you can take the insights, you can learn about the accounts more, but
True.
ultimately, it is the human touch that is required to make it personalized. AI is a starting point, human is the ending point to it. Making sure that these scripts, these emails, whatever that they are creating, and the messaging that they are sharing with the buyer is making sense. Having the human touch at the end of it. That is what is required. What I want the sales team or an ISGR or an account executive to do this week is pick up your 10 global accounts.
Okay.
Okay. Identify 3 to 5 key stakeholders, that are there in that accounts.
Okay.
Understand their biggest challenge. That is very, very important.
Uh-huh.
Align that to what you are selling them. Is
Okay.
is the most important part. Write one hyper personalized message to them, followed by a phone call. And trust me, the sales pipeline that you'll create in this week, there'll be a lot of people who cannot even create in a quarter.
That's incredibly actionable, Taman. Thank you so much and for your generous insights today, from the personal journey to the hard hitting takes on AI and the future of enterprise sales.
Thank you for having me. I believe even one team, if rethinks and or works towards this, it will be worth my time.
For everyone watching, if you got something out of this, please share it with your CEO, your CGO, your sales leader, and your growth team. And if you're serious about building your global enterprise pipeline and want to partner with 18 plus years of experience working with IT services and consulting firms, check out Beyond Codes. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you so much once again, Taman, for being with us.
Thank you.